So let's talk about where we are in the Monday Night Wars. You guys were back head to head on September 8th, and it set a new margin of victory for Nitro. You nearly doubled their audience. Nitro got a 4.27 rating and a 6.73 share. That's their second best rating ever head to head. Meanwhile, Raw does a 2.15 and a 3.39 share. Your replay almost beats them. It gets a 1.9 and a 3.67 share. So it actually gets a bigger share than they do and nearly the rating they did. Like Raw's first hour does a 2.1 and their second hour does a 2.2. Your freaking replay, the first hour does a 2.8. This is the largest margin of victory ever. And you've had two of your biggest audiences in history prior to this where they were preempted because of tennis. But now that you're back head to head, buddy, you thumped them.
And it's really, I mean, it's fun to think about, right? But what's even more interesting is I went back yesterday. I found some information that I think is pretty accurate. And I went back and looked at WCW's ratings for WCW Saturday Night, because that was our flagship show before Nitro, right? 6:05 Eastern Saturday night. That was WCW. Everything else was kind of a like this Sunday night main event, even though it was on TBS Sunday night, but it was really a clip show with one original match usually. But WCW Saturday Night was the #1 show in WCW before Nitro. I went back and compared WCW Saturday Night's ratings to Monday Night's Raw's ratings. Because, in the discussion about ratings and what it means, and with streaming and all these other ways of people getting television, ratings don't really matter anymore. And you can't really compare Nitro to AEW or current Monday Night Raw, because that was then and this is now. So I went, okay, I'm going to take that was then, this is now element out of the conversation. Let's just look and see what WCW Saturday Night did compared to Monday Night Raw in prime time. Okay. Do you know that WCW before Nitro in 1994, when I was, I think, senior vice president, executive producer, had 82% of Monday Night Raw's audience?
Oh, wow.
Rating to rating. I went through 52 weeks. Now, I eliminated the weeks where Raw was preempted and WCW wasn't, because that's unfair.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Or if there was a week or two where there was no data available, I just eliminated it from the average for both companies. And in fact, I think I have it right here, just for those of you that are interested, because I know people are fascinated talking about ratings. So the average, this is 1993. This is 1993. I haven't done 94 yet. 1993, when I was first made executive producer, really wasn't involved in anything creatively. Monday Night Raw had an average rating of 2.98. WCW Saturday Night, not in prime time, and the worst probable night you could think of for wrestling, almost,
yeah,
had a 2.47. So while the margin of victory in this particular episode was obviously pretty cool, especially because it was head to head. I mean, that makes it really meaningful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as a percentage of WWE's audience, WCW wasn't as, I was surprised when I went back and looked at it. I went, holy shit, that's a lot closer than I went. Now, there's other metrics, right, that you should consider. Their pay-per-view, outperformed our pay-per-views substantially because they were better at it. We didn't have licensing and merchandising, so you couldn't compare anything there. So the only real thing you can talk about is ratings, as we are here. And it's surprising just how well WCW was doing back in 1993 when we had 80% of their audience.
It's fascinating to look at the ratings, and I want to continue to break down the role that WCW was on. Let's talk about the finances here in WCW, because you're on quite a roll. Now, of course, these numbers are going to continue to grow, right? But September 7th in Chicago, you're at the United Center. You've got 9,905 fans there for $184,000 and another $88,000 in merchandise. The next day in Milwaukee, 8,596 fans paying 190 grand, another 53,000 in merch. Everywhere you go, you're getting these 6-figure houses, and that used to be a real rarity. You would get really close to hitting 7 figures a few times, but once upon a time, just hitting $100,000 at the gate would have been high fives all around the office, would it not, Eric?
Yeah. And, a couple of things that are interesting about what you just said. Milwaukee is really a suburb of Chicago.
Yes.
I mean, it's only an hour away.
Right.
It's not like, we did Chicago and then the next night we were in Denver. We did Chicago and then we played them, following week or whatever it was, an hour away. It's almost the same market. It is fascinating. And, you point out, we never hit 7 figures, but we're talking about 1990s dollars here.
Yes.
If you adjusted for inflation to compare truly apples to apples
Well,
today, we busted that a number of times.
Yeah.
But I think we would have, I don't know. I'm sure somebody out there is going to bust my balls and tell me why I'm wrong. It's just cool. Just listen. I don't care if you bust my balls or not based on what I say on this show. Just listen to the show so that you can bust my balls. That's okay too. I'm good with it. But yeah, it was a great feeling and it was a great time. Really was.